Okay, all right, let's go. It's day 6, and we are in Luke 6, and I am going to jump right in. I this right here. Um, yeah, this right here. Chapter 6, we're moving right along. I love talking about the life of Jesus. I think it's so important. And maybe that's why I was led to start with the book of Luke and kind of just work through this from his um, birth, to just his ministry beginning, us seeing that how he was tempted prior to his ministry really getting going. And then as he began to kind of build the disciples and to kind of get them to a space to prepare them to become who they were going to become. But in the midst of that, we always know that there are those that will stand back and watch. Everybody is not in awe with you. Everybody is not encouraged by your growth. Everybody is not encouraged by your movement, um, unfortunately. But I'm hopeful that if you are watching this, that you are one of the ones that are encouraged by somebody else's growth, that you're encouraged when someone else is elevated, when someone else receives a gift, when someone else is being honored. I pray that there's something in your heart that just cheers for them because it really does position you in a totally different space because unfortunately, that group is slim. And so when we look at Luke 6, this is where the discussion about the Sabbath begins to start because the religious leaders, the teachers of the law, the Sadducees, Pharisees, they were very strict about certain rules and regulations, and they were threatened and felt disrespected and dishonored by the things of how Jesus would move because they felt like he wasn't falling in their tradition. My gosh. And so, since he wasn't falling in their tradition or their rituals, they began to really watch him. Everything that he would do, how he would move, how he would do things, they were always looking for a way to see what he was going to do next. So, I'm just going to say this to you today. It's time for you and I to stand with Jesus. Mm. And standing with Jesus may put a bullseye on you. Standing with Jesus may position you to where others don't like you, don't believe what you say, whatever the case may be. It doesn't really matter because it's time for you and I to stand with Jesus. There's two places here in Luke 6. As you read the entire thing, there's two places in here that really stood out to me about this standing. And so I thought it was very interesting. And so I jumped on to share today this part. So one of the first things that we see here is about Jesus and him working with this man's hand that's withered. So let's look at that. There's a couple things that happened before this, but I want to jump into verse 6. It says, on another Sabbath day, because verse 1 says on the Sabbath. Now, verse 6 comes and says, on another Sabbath day. So this is another day. A man with a deformed right hand was in the synagogue while Jesus was teaching. This person that has this deformity, this person that has something that's not functioning, that's not working right, that probably doesn't even look right because it's deformed and it's his right hand. We don't know if the man was right hand or left handed, but we know that that right hand is symbolic to the hand of strength. It's the hand that you do things with. I know I got some left-handers out there, but with that hand, your hand is what you use to produce. It's a sign of where you're productive or the lack thereof. So remember, read slow. On another Sabbath day, not the same day as verse 1, a man with a deformed hand was in the synagogue while Jesus was teaching. Sounded like a good place for him to be to me. The teachers of religious law and Pharisees watched Jesus closely. I just told you about that. If he healed the man's hand, they planned to accuse him of working on the Sabbath because this day, the Sabbath day, was set aside, it was set apart. They religiously followed this. So they didn't believe, man, if you guys go back and find all of the laws that were set up for the Sabbath, I mean, you could not do anything. I mean, if you look at all of them, I mean, they were even mad if you got injured. I mean, they didn't want you to do anything. So it says that they wanted to watch him. And so they wanted to accuse him if he helped this man on the Sabbath, verse 8. But Jesus knew their thoughts. Isn't that interesting? The Bible tells us in Psalms that he knows our thoughts from afar. He knows whether we go. If we make our bed in hell, he knows even there what we're thinking. He said to the man, this is Jesus, he said to the man with the deformed hand, come and stand in front of everybody. Yeah. Y'all, it's time to stand with Jesus. So this man is deformed. He's there listening to Jesus teach. Jesus notices, and evidently everybody notices that this man has this deformity. And Jesus says, come and I want you to stand in front of everyone. Y'all, that alone can make me run right now. Are you ready for that thing that you couldn't get to work, that thing that has been hindering you? Are you ready for Jesus to call it out and to tell you to come stand in front of everybody while he works on you? Some of us are missing this opportunity because we're afraid of what the looker honors or the onlookers of what they're gonna say. But no, he said, come and stand in front of everyone. So the man came forward. I'm just gonna put my name right there. Can you do the same? So Natalie came forward. I feel like I'm in a space, and I encourage you to get in that space. That if Jesus asked you to be somewhere, if he asked you to come stand up in front of him, are you willing to do it? He doesn't ask us to do anything that he does not have rhyme or reason of why he's doing it. So the man came forward. Then Jesus said to his critics, the man didn't say anything to the critics. Jesus said to his critics, I have a question for you. Does the law permit good deeds on the Sabbath, or is it a day for doing evil? Is this a day to save a life or to destroy it? He looked around at them one by one and then said to the man, so I'm going to look at you face to face, and I'm about to do what you don't want me to do. He says, hold out your hand. So the man held out his hand, and it was restored. At this, the enemies of Jesus were wild with rage and began to discuss what to do with him. Y'all, it is time for us to stand with Jesus. Jesus brought this man with this withered, deformed hand in front of everybody to heal him on the day that they didn't want nobody to be healed. Yeah. And I want to encourage you on this 6th day, the very thing that somebody does not want for you, they better be careful, because that's the very thing that's going to be done for you. Oh my gosh. So be careful if you're the one that doesn't want somebody else to prosper. Be careful if you're the one that is an undercover hater. Be careful if you're the one that sit back and watches people and want to see when they're going to slip up or mess up or go against their tradition. Be careful if you're that one, because it's time to stand with Jesus. Jesus calls him out. He comes up and he does what Jesus asked him to do, and he was restored. And in the midst, the teachers of the law, the religious leaders, were upset and trying to figure out what they're going to do with Jesus. That's the first stand up that I saw here. The second stand up that I saw here, and I won't stay here long because I could literally preach this. This was another day. Verse 12, it says, one day soon afterward, Jesus went up on a mountain to pray, and he prayed to God all night. At daybreak, he called together all of his disciples and chose 12 of them to be apostles. Then it begins to list the 12 apostles' names. Why was this so loud to me? This was loud to me because this was another time that Jesus was telling somebody to stand up. How do I know this? Because it says that these were the ones that he chose. And I don't know about you, but I pray that you are somebody that God has chosen. The Bible says that Jesus went up to pray on a mountain, y'all, and he prayed to God all night. What were they talking about? What was Jesus and the Father? What was God giving him as instruction? Can you imagine when he came down from the mountain after praying all night long? What was this discussion like? Because we know the results of what's happening. The results are he came and he chose 12 to stand with him. Woo, glory to God. We know that. But what was the discussion like? Was Jesus saying, man, don't you know this dude, Peter, crazy? Was he saying, are you asking me to call Judas to be a part of this when he's gonna betray me? Like, was he up there saying, dude, are you really saying that these are really the 12? These fishermen that doubt, these fishermen that yep, them the ones. Yep, you're the one. Mhm. Jesus is such a bad boy that he stands this man up in front of the people that can't wait to get their hands on him. Then he goes and prays, and the Father gives him the next instruction, and it says that after he comes out from praying all night at daybreak, he got them together and he chose 12. Y'all, this takes me to that time when you tried out for the basketball team. It takes me to that time when you tried out for the cheerleading squad. And everybody's waiting to see when they post who made it, when they post who was chosen. And you're waiting and you see the coach go up and they put it on the wall or the bulletin board or they tape it to the gym door. I don't know about you, but I want to make sure that I stand with Jesus because there is going to come a time that that post is going to go up. And you and I both want to make sure that our name is on the list, that we've been chosen because we chose to stand with Jesus. So whether Jesus is calling you up to stand in front of the crowd so that he can restore you, or whether Jesus has heard from the Father and he's called your name as one of the chosen. Because after it lists the names of those that were chosen, it says, and when they came down from the mountain, the disciples stood with Jesus. Will you stand with Jesus today? I think it's time for us to take a stand. On day 6, stand with Jesus despite who's watching you. God bless you.